Welcome to Part 2 of the A320 Flight Instruments and Displays lesson. This lesson presents a detailed description of the Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitor, also known as ECAM. It also provides an overview of how aircraft non-normals and emergency situations are presented in the flight deck. The Flight Warning Computers, or FWCs, are the primary fault warning computers. There are two FWCs, and they both are responsible for generating the ECAM failure messages, the non-normal procedure checklists, master warning or master caution light illumination, oral alerts, both single chime and continuous repetitive chime, memo section information, the status page, and radio altitude and decision height callouts. Either is capable of performing all required functions, thus the loss of a single FWC has no impact on aircraft operation. Loss of both FWCs results in the loss of most automatic failure warning capabilities. Should both FWCs fail and another system subsequently fails, you will receive only localized warnings. Upon initially establishing electrical power to the aircraft, the FWCs perform a self-test. You will know this by the presence of the Flight Warning System FWC 1 and 2 fault message on the EWD. When the self-test is complete, you will hear 3 chirps. The ECAM system also relies on 2 other computers called the System Data Acquisition Concentrators, or SDACs. The SDACs acquire data from various aircraft sensors for displaying the system's information presented on the SD. They then feed this information to 3 display management computers, or DMCs, which are responsible for actually displaying the data on the display units. The SDACs also monitor Level 2 caution system limits and transmit these cautions to the FWCs. They trigger the FWCs to generate the Level 2 caution. Either SDAC is capable of performing all required functions. Loss of both SDACs results in the loss of data on most system pages. Level 2 caution capabilities are also lost. The Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitor, or ECAM, includes the Engine Warning Display, EWD, and the System Display, SD. Whenever AC power is established, the upper and lower ECAMs are powered. The EWD is normally displayed on the upper display unit, or DU, while the SD is normally displayed on the lower DU. The upper portion of the EWD provides a permanent display of information relating to engines, fuel, and slats flaps. The lower portion is called the memo section and displays memos, which remind the crew of items of a temporary nature such as seatbelts and no smoking signs, and warning and caution messages, which display the specific failure message and associated procedure. During a warning or caution, the corresponding system page is automatically displayed. After the non-normal procedure is completed, the status page displays the inoperative systems and any approach considerations. The lower portion of the system's display shows pertinent flight data including outside air temperatures, the current UTC time, and aircraft gross weight. The same color coding is used for both the EWD and the SD. Colors are used to indicate the importance of the message. Green indicates the item is operating normally. White is used for titles and remarks used to guide you during procedures. Blue is used for units of measure and also for action steps that accompany failure messages. Amber indicates a failure or configuration needing crew awareness but not necessarily immediate action. Red is an indication of a failure or configuration requiring immediate crew action. Magenta is used for particular messages such as inhibition messages. The ECAM control panel is located on the center pedestal immediately below the SD. 2 control knobs on the left side of the control panel are used to turn the 2 ECAM DUs on or off and adjust the brightness level. 2 rows of push buttons are used to select 11 different systems pages. The 12th page, the cruise page, appears automatically in flight and cannot be manually selected. When a page is manually selected, the corresponding light illuminates on the push button. Selection of another system page deselects the current page. Another way to deselect the current page is to simply press the corresponding push button again. The SD has returned to automatic operation. The cruise page now appears. When automatic operation is in effect, there are no lights illuminated on any of the ECAM control panel push buttons. When the All push button is pressed and held, all pages are displayed sequentially in short intervals. When the push button is released, the page in view remains displayed. The status push button is used to call up the status page. If a failure has occurred, the status page depicts a summary of aircraft systems and significant operational considerations for approach and landing. The emergency cancel, clear, and recall push buttons are all used in association with the ECAM when you are confronted with system emergencies and non-normals. The takeoff configuration push button is pressed prior to takeoff. It simulates the application of takeoff thrust and will trigger the configuration alert if the aircraft is not properly configured. The upper portion of the EWD provides a permanent display of primary engine parameters, fuel on board, and slat flap position. During normal operations, the lower portion of the EWD presents memos which provide reminders of functions temporarily in use. Memos are usually displayed in green. A memo typically appears in amber for an abnormal condition. For example, the parking brake memo is green when the parking brake is set on the ground, but amber if it is set while in flight. Memo checklists are automatically displayed for takeoff and landing. The item names appear in green. Any action steps needing to be performed appear in blue if the step is not yet complete. When the step has been completed, the action item changes to green. The takeoff memo appears 2 minutes after the second engine start or when the takeoff configuration push button on the ECAM control panel is pushed, provided at least one engine is running. The takeoff memo disappears at the application of takeoff power. The landing memo appears when below 2,000 feet AGL and disappears immediately after touchdown. The SD displays various aircraft systems pages throughout the flight. System pages automatically displayed during normal operations depending on the phase of flight. The following chart summarizes when automatic logic displays the various system pages. Throughout the system pages, the symbols for pumps and valves are uniformly depicted. Pumps are presented in a square format. Depending on the operation and status of the pump, the indication on the system page may change appearance or color. There are 4 possible configurations for aircraft pump displays. A green vertical line within the square, referred to as inline green, indicates the pump is on and pump pressure is normal. A green horizontal line within the square, referred to as crossline green, indicates the pump is off in accordance with normal automatic logic. An amber horizontal line within an amber square, referred to as crossline amber, indicates the pump has been manually selected off. And an amber low within the amber square indicates the pump is on, but pump pressure is low. Valves are presented on the system pages in a circle format. Like the pumps, the valve displays change appearance and color depending on their status. There are 5 possible configurations for valve displays. Inline green indicates the valve is open. Crossline green indicates the valve is closed. Inline amber indicates disagreement between the actual valve position and the commanded position, meaning the valve is stuck open. Crossline amber indicates disagreement between the actual valve position and the commanded position, meaning the valve is stuck closed. And diagonal line amber indicates that the valve is in transit. The ECAM ND transfer selector on the switching panel is used in response to ECAM DU failures. This selector allows the crew to move the information on the SD to either pilot's inner display unit. Selecting Captain moves the SD to the Captain's inner display unit. Selecting First Officer moves the SD to the First Officer's inner display unit. It is important to note that this selector will not transfer either pilot's navigation display to the lower ECAM screen. The ECAM is designed to provide fault monitoring as well as corrective procedural checklists when a malfunction is detected. In most cases, the ECAM specifically displays the title and procedural steps necessary to stabilize the situation. The ECAM provides distinct advantages in the handling of non-normals and emergencies in that it constantly monitors most aircraft systems, displays the essential steps necessary for stabilizing the situation prior to landing, and prioritizes emergencies and non-normals. As useful as it is, the ECAM is not without its limitations. The software is not customized to company-specific operations. It has limited space to provide detailed information. It does not have the same reasoning abilities as a pilot, and it cannot detect all non-normals and emergencies. Consequently, company procedures are provided for additional information and guidance. The company's procedures help maintain standardization and address the situations that are not recognized by the ECAM. Since Airbus aircraft are certified with the ECAM system, the ECAM procedures must be performed from start to finish before proceeding to the written procedures. The ECAM system is programmed to present nearly 300 different non-normal or emergency situations. Non-normals identified by the ECAM are classified as Class 1 messages. Class 1 messages are divided into either warnings or cautions. Cautions are further subdivided into two levels, Level 1 and Level 2. Therefore, depending on the severity of the malfunction, a Class 1 message may be presented in one of three ways to alert the crew. This is an example of the lowest degree of alert, a Level 1 caution. An amber failure message appears in the memo section of the EWD. There are no additional visual or oral indications. This alert provides general crew awareness. Level 1 caution should be handled by the crew as workload conditions permit. This next example is a higher degree of alert, a Level 2 caution. The amber failure message is accompanied by the illumination of the master caution lights and the sounding of a single chime. Level 2 cautions provide for crew awareness but do not require immediate crew action. Level 2 caution messages will be accompanied by blue action steps. This is an example of the highest degree of alert, a warning. These alerts are characterized by a red ECAM failure message, flashing master warning lights, and a continuous repetitive chime, CRC. ECAM warnings require immediate crew action. Another form of ECAM notification is the system advisory. When a system parameter exceeds the normal operational range but has not exceeded a preset limit, the following occurs. The associated system page is automatically displayed on the SD, and the affected parameter pulses green. If the situation continues to degrade, the pulsing green parameter may change to an amber color. System advisories draw your attention to less serious system degradations which require monitoring but no immediate pilot action. Master caution and master warning lights are located on each side of the glare shield. The lights automatically illuminate when signaled by the FWCs. The master warning lights flash red and are accompanied by a continuous repetitive chime, CRC. The master caution lights illuminate amber and are accompanied by a single chime. The aural alerts associated with these lights are heard throughout the flight deck loudspeakers regardless of the selected volume. Pushing an illuminated master warning or caution light extinguishes the light. ECAM caution and warning messages are presented on the left side of the EWD's memo section. When a failure is detected, the title of the failure is displayed in red for warnings and amber for cautions. The underlined title of the message, in this example HYD, depicts the system in which the failure has occurred. This message title corresponds to the appropriate section of the QRH. The next part of the message depicts the name of the failure and the corresponding QRH checklist reference. This message is an example of an independent failure as it does not impact other systems. Some failure messages are presented with a boxed title. These are defined as primary failures because they have an impact on more than one system. The other systems affected by a primary failure are displayed in amber on the right side of the memo section. These are defined as secondary failures. Failure messages are automatically prioritized. A red warning message has priority over all amber caution messages. A Level 2 caution message has priority over a Level 1 caution. The checklist for the most serious non-normal is presented first. If a procedure lists more steps than the memo section can accommodate, a green overflow arrow appears indicating that additional data is available but is currently out of view. As action steps are completed or cleared, the information previously hidden from view is revealed and the green arrow is removed. Action steps are displayed in blue below the failure message. These steps must be accomplished in order to properly deal with the non-normal or emergency situation. The step is automatically removed when the corrective action is completed as long as the specified flight deck control is monitored by the FWC. Note the illuminated fault light on the guarded IDG1 push button. This is designed to assist you in locating the push button necessary for accomplishing this action step. Notice that the action step has been removed from the EWD. Certain ECAM procedures incorporate a countdown timer to prompt you when to accomplish the next action step. When the countdown is complete, the timer statement disappears automatically. Other ECAM non-normal procedures contain conditional statements. These statements assist you in taking the appropriate actions to configure the aircraft in response to the non-normal. Once the action steps have been completed, the failure message is removed by pressing either clear push button. It is important to note that pressing the clear push button removes the entire message and all action steps associated with the failure. If a step is accidentally removed, it can be restored using the recall push button. When a malfunction occurs, in addition to the messages appearing on the EWD, the associated system page is displayed. Note that the box around the failure message indicates that this is a primary failure that affects other systems. The affected systems are listed as secondary failures on the right side of the memo section. The status of these systems is viewed in order by pressing either clear push button. We have now accomplished all the action steps for this non-normal and have cleared to the last failure message. Pressing either clear push button removes the failure message and the first affected systems page is displayed. After confirming the integrity of the system, pressing either clear push button displays the next affected systems page. Once all affected system pages have been viewed, the display reverts to the status page. The status page provides a summary of inoperative aircraft systems as well as significant operational considerations for approach and landing. The status page is always the last page displayed during an ECAM non-normal procedure. The amount of data provided on the status page depends on the seriousness and implications of the failure you've experienced. In this example, the loss of 2 hydraulic systems results in a status page full of information. Limitations, approach procedures, and additional action steps are provided in blue. Approach information is provided in green. A list of inoperative systems and/or components is listed on the right side of the status page. The inoperative systems list is not prioritized. A green overflow arrow appears when there is insufficient space to display all the information that needs to be presented on the status page. The additional information can be accessed using the Clear push buttons on the ECAM control panel. Once you have completed your review of the status page, remove it from the SD by selecting either Clear push button. The default page appropriate to your current phase of flight is then displayed, and all lights on the ECAM control panel extinguish. This indicates the non-normal procedure has been completed. If a message is present on the status page, status appears on the EWD as a reminder. You can manually call up the status page by pressing the status push button. If no status messages are present, normal is displayed in green. If normal is displayed, the status page is automatically removed after a short delay. When appropriate, minor system degradation requiring maintenance attention is listed on the lower right side of the status page. These messages, called Class 2 maintenance messages, list the name of the major component or system affected. These messages are only displayed with the engine shut down before or after the flight. The guarded emergency cancel push button is used to cancel nuisance caution alerts. Warning messages cannot be canceled. This message is now inhibited from appearing on the ECAM for the remainder of the flight. When a caution is canceled, the status page displays the message "Canceled Caution" along with the title of the inhibited failure message. A canceled caution can be recalled by pressing the recall push button for at least 3 seconds. If there are no caution or warning messages present when the recall push button is pressed, the indication "Normal" appears for a short time in the memo section. Inhibit memos are displayed in magenta. To prevent distraction, they appear during takeoff and landing as an indication that cautions and warnings are inhibited. The takeoff inhibit memo is displayed between 80 knots and 1,500 feet AGL. During landing, the landing inhibit memo is displayed between 800 feet AGL and 80 knots. These memos are only a reminder that should certain failures occur during these critical phases of flight, the associated caution or warning message will be temporarily inhibited. They do not indicate that a caution or warning is currently being inhibited. If a failure occurs prior to the inhibiting phase, the warning or caution indications will continue to be displayed and are not inhibited. If the failure occurs during the inhibiting phase, the indications are displayed as soon as the inhibition no longer applies. Certain critical failures are not inhibited during these phases.
That is incorrect. 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 That is correct. That is correct.